and storms. Down by the shore, pirates in the port of paradise.
So bad that it knocked out.
Ruined mariners marinated, swinging on north with their heads big or sore.
Garbage to look at.
Viscera and gore.
In paradise. But I was also thinking, because I was walking across the
pirates in the bay, taking what they may, yarn and gold aboard, what decorates indoors. Taking home decor.
And
please not a word more. It's the pirates of
what is it?
paradise.
No, and I think Mythbusters, listeners, it's good to be back. Shout out to you cats in June. I hope that you're having a good summer so far. We are wearing different shirts and are obviously in a different time and space than we were in, let's say, the last episode. But, oh, yeah. So, there on Mythbusters, they analyzed that sewer fires, I think, are a phenomenon that is possible. And that, it's in the manhole covers episode, I believe, if you were looking for it.
What is the idea that, like, a manhole cover, there's so
much could shoot off. That somehow.
There's so much of a sewer fire that it causes, like, an explosive reaction, because that's all that Mythbusters has ever covered is, like, just ballistics, really.
A lot of ballistics. A lot of it. Yeah. Which I do enjoy. I guess if anyone enjoys experimental questioning, it might be me. But so I can get into that idea. So, you know that I began. Well, also, so I guess you know that I began that like machinist training that I'm doing right now as a result of the career center that I'm affiliated with, right? Because I work for that dude, blah, 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 career center, etc. Right? But I was talking to them maybe a couple weeks ago, and they said that even though they can't like pay me just as like one of their interns like all the time, just to be looking toward forming a career, they might be able to do some like project-based stuff during the summer, like and also pay me when they have or when they have more funding and whatnot. And I was thinking about that, and I was like, I guess there are a lot of projects that have to be done. Not a lot of projects that have to be done, but there are. We got a grant at Hack Pittsburgh that we need to teach a number of classes in order to fulfill. We didn't intend to not fulfill the grant. It's just that COVID happened, and then we closed because of some mold, and like we are just rallying with our new full board and whatnot, and our president out of the hospital. We need classes to be taught. And I was thinking, I wonder if they weren't capable of directly funding it. I wonder if they could help me secure funding to pay a bunch of people. When I say a bunch of people, I mean like maybe like 5 or 6 to like maybe 5 or 6 to make sorry, I'm playing with magnets and it's right. I don't want to lose them. but so I wonder if I could maybe secure enough funding to pay 6 people to work on like an art installation type project. Because there are art festivals and exhibits and
hear me out, Quar. Capitalize on identity. Do it. Be like we're creating a healing project. It involves Reiki, but for
because everyone, I mean not everyone, but everyone who's listened to or seen the new versions of the podcast have seen the wheel.
The wheel
right?
is magnificent.
And I was thinking I can make, because this wheel is a little bit janky, but that's because it's just got to work. It's also got a little bit of my blood on it. If that makes our podcast.
We started this episode, or prior to this episode, I was shaving, and I got one of those single blade razors, which I really like, because you keep the metal piece, like the handle, and then you just replace the blades, and it's only one blade, and it shaves really clean, and I like it. I like it. It's nice. I think it's like Harry's razor adjacent, but I think it's like Vanderhagen. I was gonna say Copenhagen like the dip, but Vanderhagen like the dip it in hot water and cover your face in shaving gel.
Exactly. Vanderhaven sponsor the podcast. I'll shave with your shit. I need to shave. I'll shave with your shit. Anyway, yeah. Oh, but the thing I was going to say is I bet I could probably secure funding to pay like 6 people to work on some sort of art installation. And if I were going to pick an art installation, I've been trying to think a lot recently about how, like, what sorts of things you could make that embodied a sort of positive ethic in addition to being like a functional object in that it does something, and I guess doing something is looking beautiful or creating ambiance. But just because there's not all that much secular art that has that much. Well, I'm sorry. I think the most beautiful of secular art, sort of to an extent, migrates or steals from the religious styles. And
I would agree with that. And then also I would say that you could probably classify a certain subsection of art throughout history as secular art that was sort of like tricky dicky financed through through
I
religion.
do.
Like
Exactly.
The piece that I have on my chest and some of like the Northern Renaissance art. So like Peter Bruegel and some of that ilk. I think Renaissance is in some ways characterized by like almost a religious tradition of celebrating like the godly forms and that sort of like loose
Yes.
tangential relation to like religious tradition.
Yeah.
But
The representation of the ideals. I'm with you.
but I think it's like it's speculated that many of like the people who worked under the church, at least like Peter Bruegel, made some of their art in like jest, but like like
Still
like
with the
what was the one thing with like there was like for sure I think Michelangelo or Da Vinci scenario where like the church was like you can't show pee-pee. You can't show pee-pee on our ceiling. Because like, what if the shingle on the roof has a leak, and then there's pee-pee that drips down. There's urine that drips down from the ceiling. You can't have that in a church, or something. I don't know. That's yeah. But
No. Fair. But so I guess speaking of the like, I want to do very interesting sort of like. What I'm imagining is like a big stained glass, like, well, because I can weld with a stick now, and so I bet and I've been able to cut metal for a long time, so making a big sturdy steel base isn't all that big a thing, and then I bet I could make like a big rotating kinetic sculpture that we could actually use to do a live podcast, and then just like sit somewhere or sell to somebody or something like that, right? And well, I guess there are a couple different things that could be taught as a result of having done that. Like I'm not a good enough welder to teach someone how to weld, but I could if I could secure funding to pay an artist like George, for example, because I really like his art, to do some sort of like really beautiful circular piece, like circular line art, and then scan it. And then I could turn that into a DXF, and I could walk you through the process of going from that line art to like a piece that I can like cut, like laser cut or like CNC cut, and then fit into a big frame to spin as a part of this and whatnot. I also, speaking of, we spoke about BLE before the podcast, but that stained glass artist I know, Gina. I wonder I don't know what Gina is up to, but making like a rotating like stained glass piece, like, and the stained glass is where the sort of the pseudo religious imagery came from. And if not stained glass, we could always do like acrylic or something like that.
my foray into stained glass is stained paper with the that.
Yes.
I would certainly like to explore that opportunity.
Oh yeah, and then so I figure if we could, first I got to figure out how to build it, and then like lay out a budget, and then figure. Oh, also another reason I had this idea is because, and listeners, you might notice, like as I said earlier, we haven't spun the wheel or landed on Captain's quarters, but you might be wondering why are there no clips of the podcast? It's because I don't want to edit video. I don't want to do it. I simply have no desire to.
Have you ever heard of Ken Klippenstein with CNN, I believe?
And
or Ken Bone. Our attempts, our efforts to create a more fluid version of the podcast in the sense that it can flow through YouTube algorithms.
Yes.
Is Ken Bone dry? And
Ken
Klippenstein is fucking.
He's
his clips, the clips he's made are 9 which is
Yes.
0
Yeah.
of them. He has made.
Yes.
It's fine.
Yes. And so, but I mean, hypothetically, if we could find like a Pittsburgh and/or St. Collins-based person who like has a similar sense of humor and can edit video,
and/or
maybe
South Asian, $2 a year.
Exactly. No, this is true. We could definitely we could make some South Asians whole life. We really could.
I have 36.50 in Dogecoin in escrow. Once Robinhood pays me, I can transfer it to a hardware. I can sell it for U.S. dollars and and transfer the U.S. dollars to a hardware wallet, aka a bank vault somewhere in somewhere in the Philippines.
But I was just thinking about that, and I guess technically there's probably like I bet I could teach like a design class and like some basic fabrication. I bet that you could. I mean, I don't know. I guess if we came up with like a set methodology for recording the podcast, we should show someone how to record their own podcast if they wanted to.
Honestly, like what's the move I was thinking of is what if you got like 6 people together and figured out the country where the leader is paid the least.
Yeah.
And you were like, how about we just pay his salary? Like and like try and like influence foreign elections like that? Like what if you went to the Philippines and you were like, hey, Duterte, like what do you need? Like $650 a year or something?
You know what?
We can pay you in just Marlboros.
When we secure the second round of funding, that's definitely going to be the play. But that is like, and this is sort of an elaborated hypothetical, but I suppose like being on the board of an organization and also having heard that from my career center, I guess like the idea of me being able to create projects in which people don't lose money but make it is not entirely out of the realm of possibility. And I think I need to explore it more seriously, just because more things will happen, the fewer of the things that have to happen being things that I don't want to do and are my responsibility. There we go. That sentence was yelled on.
Find somebody whose time is not worth $200 an hour.
Yes.
Also, thank you, JP. Thank you, JP, for making me make 50% more per hour. I think allegedly.
Yes. Let's shout out to Chef JP one time.
Shout out to JP.
Yeah. Actually, there was a really good Jordan Peterson podcast I watched about.
Somebody made his voice into like a Siri, and there was a come down.
No.
And so they have a bit where like you can type things in, and JP will be like, "Oh."
It's not obvious. Like something like that.
No, it's like I think the bit that they did was like, so when you're sucking cock.
Wait, I haven't
really
listened
bad.
to any.
I'll find that and send it to you. The come down that I researched for this episode, following from last episode, was Anastasios, the cop who was shot by run over by a podcaster, a drunk driving podcaster.
Yeah.
But the podcast research for next episode is spinning the wheel and just playing the clip of another podcast comes out doing our $2 an hour work of Jordan Peterson begging to suck your dick.
Man.
It's not obvious that some people would call you a sissy. I don't know.
Oh man, but let me. Man, what the fuck was I gonna say? Oh, dude, I have no idea. I have no idea who the person on this podcast.
Dancing Bear. It's not obvious that a person in a fursuit would remove all articles of clothing but the head.
The probability that you will be able to keep his cock out of your mouth is 0. Half of the cocks are sucked by a square root of the people.
I've been thinking of the phrase "a non-zero chance" in reference to like most things, because non-zero chance means almost nothing, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So non-zero chance just means like within
anything that can happen.
Anything that can happen, yeah. Even like just theoretically.
Yeah, just anything that could happen.
Yeah, it's like theoretically, like this one time.
Yeah, it's like
non-zero chance is like my version of so anyway.
yeah. It's like ba ba ba. That's what she. It's like we've got a there's a non-zero chance of me finishing this conversation quickly. Oh man, but the cat that he had on was talking about the development of aggression in children and like the essentially they followed they did like part like a sort of like experiment like an experimental intervention study in a bunch of also a bunch of long-term control observation, and the kids, I think in his work, the kids that they watched are 40 at the time of the recording of the podcast. So that's how much data that's like the length of time of which they gathered data so far. The birth.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. Well, because like so there were like some essentially there's different. So you should honestly just listen to the podcast. Like if you're listening and you're like, I want to know more about this, just go listen to that fucking podcast. But yeah, they were just like, I think the selection criteria for like mothers, according to the podcast, the selection criteria for like mothers who might need help, let's say, well, just because I guess on the back end, they saw that the best way to reduce the aggressive behavior of the next generation of people is to support their mothers during pregnancy and young childhood and whatnot, like to support the development of the child, like just in almost in the grandmotherly way that to the extent that grandmotherliness aids motherliness, let's say. But
just reducing the like time commitment and or like emotional commitment of like. So there was a study I heard of recently where, and it seems like sort of part and parcel for like the genre of study that it was in, but it was about like homeless people and how if you give them like, I think it was like this particular study was like they gave them like $7,500 up front or something, and then they gave them like life coaching seminars for free in addition to that. But then they controlled for this study by giving people life coaching seminars, but not $7,500 or something.
Oh,
which is like if you want me as a homeless person to sit down and listen to life coaching seminars, I would rather do heroin.
Yeah, this is true. Oh, for free. Because I can do heroin
because they
did
the same study with or it might not have even been a study, but it was a class requirement for one of the first courses I took in college, that you go to like 3 of these seminars about how to relieve stress other than alcoholism.
Oh, heard. Okay.
They're like, you could exercise, but not too much, because if you exercise too much,
it's addiction.
And I'm like, fuck. Nobody has that problem. Nobody has
David. Well, except for Dave Goggins when he shits blood.
But it doesn't matter because Dave Goggins shits blood for $7,500 a day.
Exactly. That it is worth it to shit blood for. Now that I think about it, it's very much worth it to shit blood for that amount of money a day.
Exactly.
Yeah. But so I think the nature of the intervention was essentially because I guess the problems that the sorts of identified problem mothers have are, I guess, whether it's physical health or psychological health or not like an unstable life, like no partner, no place to live, et cetera, or substance abuse, or just whether or not like you drink and smoke during your pregnancy and whatnot, just because they saw that all those things lead to a higher likelihood of you producing children that are either boys who are aggressive, let's say, or 2 girls who will go on to produce boys that are aggressive and girls that produce girls that go on to produce boys, et cetera, right? So, I just really quick, I'm going to say the nature of the intervention, but they during pregnancy, because you can identify like these particular career criteria by like if you're just like a competent physician apparently. So during pregnancy, they would ask you if like you needed things, and there was you would have a nurse that visited you at a specific frequency for like your medical, physiological, and like psychological health needs, let's say, but they weren't a shrink or anything. And then after your kid was born, they give you access to a free high quality daycare, because free high quality daycare apparently is like very helpful when it comes to making when it comes to socializing children, and also getting the like the distribution. And I guess now you don't really, if you were looking for the cliff notes, this is a pretty good cliff notes, but the distribution is you have a set of 2 to 4 year olds, right? About 30% of 2 to 4 year olds won't use they're really non-aggressive, like they're particularly non-aggressive, right? 50% will use aggression sometimes, and they defined aggression by hitting, kicking, biting, stealing, right? And then 17% were like aggressive, like antisocial, right? And so the daycare
and it's included in antisocial behaviors or homosexuality, Judaism,
disorderliness,
being a member of the Falun Gong.
Yeah, but so I said, but so they're the high quality daycare is super beneficial for children no matter what group you're in, but it really helps if you are in that particular antisocial 17%.
I remember hearing there was a class I had on like international development or global development, or like it might have been international development in the global context, so global development, but the class covered mostly like South America, which I think is interesting, South and Central America. But they talked about like Bolsa Familia, which was like a Brazilian program to give basically a UBI to mothers, and it was super effective in reducing like childhood poverty and that sort of stuff. But it's like, of course it is, because you're just giving people money. And I'm in favor of the, like, assuming it works, like you create like a UBI that increases like the amount of money you can expect to earn in your life via any number of socialization / educate, any number of like positive beneficiary factors are earlier in childhood.
And that's something that's actually a point that they made, because you might say that these were Jordan Peterson's numbers. So he because apparently he spent some time like as a young man working in daycare in Alberta. But so let's say that it costs in terms of. So I think he said that you need. He gave an average where essentially like high quality daycare for a year for a 2 to 4 year old probably costs like $30,000 a kid or something like that. However, it costs like it costs like the number he also cited that he wasn't quite sure about was like $300K a year to hold someone in prison, let's say, and so not only. Like so, and according to his guest, like the person who did all this research, they've crunched the numbers, and the deferred costs of more aggressive people is greater than the cost of initial developmental help.
That was essentially the I think the result of the study that I was mentioning with like giving homeless people $7,500 in training versus just training, and kind of makes sense, right? Like if you give somebody something, but they found like not only do you pay less as a taxpayer per person on social services when you give them just money and social services, but in addition, I believe the reduction in spending on like alcohol and tobacco was reduced by like at least 20% or something, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if, like, instead of just a pack of cigarettes, they were buying, like, a carton of cigarettes because they had $7,500. And so, like, the dollar cost average per cigarette, per Lucy.
For Lucy.
was
it's
lower.
Like, I can't afford to spend more than 35 cents on the square. I can't spend more than that. You're telling me for Lucy, you're trying to charge me 27 cents. How am I supposed to? Well, I forget what number I said. So 37 cents.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. But so that does make sense. And here's why that makes sense, right? So there was another aspect of this cat's research was there were first graders, right? And they were able to sort these first graders by pro-social versus anti-social on like a continuum. I mean, obviously you have negative characteristics like hitting, biting, blah, 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 blah. And then, you could probably define being pro-social in terms of microactions when you're observing children. But
like share it. I guess I don't know what the opposite of, if you were going to just do like a simple inverse, I don't know if it would be like hugging, kissing, sucking,
hugging, kissing, like sharing, like I guess
sharing,
raising your hand to talk instead of just talking or something like that. If you're in first grade, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they what they did is they took one antisocial first grader, one or two, and put them in a group of 4 or 5 pro-social first graders, and that they saw that in the long term that helped them very much, and it also helped them keep more pro-social friends, not necessarily the same ones, but more pro-social friends over time. And so essentially, like the researcher, he said that it was either the researcher or JP, but they got them because all the 2-year-olds are super aggressive. Like 2-year-olds use violence a lot. Like the place where you're most likely to be struck by another person is in a daycare center. That's true, right? And so, but between 2 and 4, most 4-year-olds learn not to hit. You learn that you can ask instead of hitting, right?
And it's mostly because they don't know about ethnic gangs yet. and really, if they introduce the Aryan Brotherhood or the Bloods of the Crips into kindergarten classrooms.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I've been a Crips or like a little baby with his hands like this. No, I mean, but so yeah. But so they when you're 4, right? But you still are as aggressive as a 2-year-old. And this was JP's reasoning that other 4-year-olds who are more sophisticated and less violent aren't going to be willing to tolerate that. And so that alienation gets you farther and farther away from being properly socialized. And that's how you end up with I don't know, like adults who shoot people's moms when they rob their houses or something like that.
I don't know if I've ever mentioned this story on the pod, but there was some kid who was.
Can I finish this point really quickly?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, real fast. But so it's I was just going to say that that experimental intervention was essentially about getting them back on like the play track, and it does require I guess you might say the activities they were doing were also specifically related to learning social skills. So you might say that like putting antisocial people with pro-social people is like just giving them, or I'm sorry, like just making them no. Okay, so just telling someone antisocial how they should behave differently is like making them sit through classes, right? But then giving them a pro-social group and then making them sit through classes about how they should behave differently is like giving them the $7,500 as well. That's my point.
That's good.
Yeah.
I guess my real quick point on the increased likelihood of shooting people, not even necessarily related. There was this one kid a relative of mine knew who was adopted, and then once I think he had like 2 fake legs, like prosthetics, but I think he raped and murdered his adopted mother and sister at like under 16. And I was like, yo, what the? Then I think he might have burned their house down too.
God damn. Fuck. Well, so anyway, all that research made me think about how I need to be in my brother's life more, because he is
Absolutely.
too and violent.
I think he covered he's violent.
Not like super violent. He will hit. Not all that. He'll hit. He'll throw. He will, if he wants you to. He'll do this thing where he will grab your hand and arrange you in the room amongst other people the way he would like people arranged. Like, I want you to stand right here. I want you to stand, he'll take your hand. This dude's like this tall, mind you. He'll take your hand. He'll be like standing. He'll
he's arranging you like Lego figures. There's like a scene in the show Happy where this dude he's lobotomized hundreds of children, and he has a room where they're all set up like the Nutcracker, but it's just a bunch of brain dead people dressed as ballerinas and Nutcracker characters standing in various locations. I think you've
Oh,
mentioned if your brother has kids too young, you're gonna both coach them, like both raise him as your child and them as your child as at the same time, because you have furthered life experience and like educational benefit.
Certainly.
And I think that's very, very respectable. Um, yeah, I don't know if I had another pin on that.
I think that he would definitely lobotomize us if he could. Like, if he knew what lobotomies were, I think that with his current level of aggression, he'd be like, "Yeah, fucking the ice pick, so they stand still." Because he was.
Let's hit the pause button on their motor function.
He's like, "I want Gene to stand right here, and I want Dale to stand right here." And then his dad was Big AJ. He's like, "I want Big AJ right here."
Running.
Yeah, well, it's just because
he's on the highway.
Then he just wants to, like, if he's watching something, right, he'll arrange everyone and just watch it because he wants everyone how he wants them before he'll go about his business.
I will say I have probably been the subject of being forced to stand in various locations at a young age because I think my sisters and cousins, a female would like put me in dresses and stuff now do a play for me, and I'd be like,
do a play for me,
and I'm like, I have no other friends, so I guess I'll do this.
I didn't know this is what playing meant. I thought you could just pretend and have fun. I didn't know you had to pretend and suffer. Yeah. How long have we been going on this second app? Question.
This second app, I'm guessing like
20 minutes.
Okay. 31. 26.
31. Right on the goddamn money. But I can spin the wheel.
Spin the wheel, yes indeed. Wait.
This is a secret. You can see the underwear I'm using to change my white orange.
I thought it was a jersey. of some kind.
Oh no.
Did you ever hear the statistic that underwear sales in Jersey are non-existent? Non-existent.
Really?
They don't have any stores. It's actually illegal to sell them. They have like 900% sales tax on it. So it's just people dick out in jeans.
Fair enough. Well, apparently Joe Rogan said that when he worked in construction, he knew a dude who would be drunk all the time, and he ripped a hole in the crotch of his jeans, and he never wore underwear, and so his dick would be out just as he was drunk and walking over like floor joists.
Oh, that's awesome.
Anyway,
I've never heard that specific detail.
Feels like a wheel is, I think, how that goes. Let's see. What does this say? This is Captain's Quarters again. I'm going to spend this because we get Captain's Quarters very frequently. Because I think, it's not even. Hold on. Let me adjust everything in my whole life. So, these. And there we go. Now we can see.
Just a different corner of the circle.
Just a different quarter of the circle. All right, what is that?
Crow's Nest?
Crow's Nest, okay. What the fuck does Crow's Nest mean again? So,
what you see on like the horizon. So I think that's like what like events that are taking place in the future, near future / like, I guess like your prospectus, your interpersonal prospectus.
I did come up with a plan. I came up with another plan. This plan is actually more concrete than the other one, to the extent that I just have to have money. But so you're familiar with Khabib Nurmagomedov?
Yeah.
Yes. So Khabib, before he was the UFC champion, was the World Combat Sambo champion. I earlier today found out that there's a cat in Bulgaria who, including like somewhere to sleep and 3 meals a day, will allow me to train Sambo for like $100 per day.
Per day?
And so, per day. Yes. Now, hear me out. It costs, if I'm not looking to get there until like early next year.
Bulgaria?
It'll cost me like $800 to get to the country of Bulgaria, and then maybe like an additional to and from the country of Bulgaria and a round trip sort of way, and then maybe an additional like 50 or 60 bones in like trains from the capital to Varna on the coast of the Black Sea. But I think that in terms of like health goals, martial art, so health goals, martial arts goals, travel goals, and financial stability goals, making a very concrete decision to trade combat sambo in Bulgaria for like a month or the better part of next year.
If I'm paying you $100 to train me in sambo a day, I better be able to use that sambo daily while in Bulgaria to just like I don't know sell weapons or something, or like traffic drugs, something that will cover my bills.
I just like, well, I was gonna not buy his cocaine because it's bad and also expensive, but then he got me in the leg lock, and then it was either give him $100K in my knee. But so, but the what am I trying to say? Also, I haven't really been to continental Europe, and it would be interesting to be so deep in the Mediterranean, I suppose, or in the Balkans. In that, like I think they're like human remains. Well, Homo sapien remains. Well, no, human remains found in Bulgaria that are like 47,000 years old. You know,
we didn't cover this on the last episode either, but there were there were like 215 bodies of children found somewhere in Canada in like I forget what the abbreviation for it is, but there's like some sort of like Catholic like hacienda type system of schooling where they would take indigenous people and send them to like a Catholic boarding school. And the breaking news today on Twitter was that they found like 215 bodies that were like undocumented in like somewhere on the grounds of this campus.
God damn.
Which is like, yeah, too much.
Do you know how they were like dated at all? Like whether they were
like,
no,
I don't think that
they were 200 like, kids. All got
it sounded like Canada can't talk shit about school shootings anymore.
Yeah, Christ. Wouldn't you rather, instead of being like, I guess, like, okay, and this is dark to say, but instead of being molested and tossed on like a pile of other molested and fucked children, or I guess other fucked and killed children, wouldn't you rather just be shot at school one day?
Honestly, yeah, because like that's not necessarily a death sentence.
Exactly. You know, you just gotta. Well, I mean, even if you have to die, I might rather die on my way to my locker than fucked and then thrown, semi-killed onto a pile of other into the fucked kid burial ground.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The fucked kid burial ground is not somewhere.
They said mass grave, but I don't know because it could have just been like an unofficial burial yard or whatever, you know what I mean? Like it could have been a burial ground of sorts, and then they just because I don't think it was necessarily the case that it was 215 kids all at once.
Yes, exactly.
But it's still not good.
Can you send me like the like a link to the story?
You can literally just go on Twitter. It's like top news story.
I heard.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to think about that.
Yeah. Oh, dude, but the thing, to wrap up that other point, I'm imagining myself like waking up at 5:30 in the morning and like taking in like the salty Black Sea air, you know what I mean, and then just beginning training hard from like 7 until like 3, getting the shit kicked out of me, just being really in pain, and then showering, dressing my wounds, dressing myself, and then going out to like a museum in a tie or something like that, like something like just with like a black eye, just real beat up, talk to a nice human woman. It's like, what are you doing here? And it's like getting my shit rocked. And it's like, yeah, what about you? And it's like, I'm about to get my shit rocked, et cetera, et cetera.
There's this, I forget what the dude's name is, but there's like this one Romanian guy who just does like various like parkour / break dancing. Mm-hmm. I think his big thing is like he'll like beg for money, but be like, I'll do a backflip and be your hype man for the day or something if you do.
That's pretty sick.
I think he's Romanian. But yeah, I don't know how the like ethnic issue would arise in like
Bulgaria. This is true. I was talking with Nate about this. So we looked it up, and so the Bulgaria is Greeks, Slovak, Italian, and Persian, but I don't know how many black people there are there. Yes, I truly
don't know if it would be like China, where they would be like, we want to touch your hair, but like maybe don't come into our store.
Exactly.
Unless they're wearing like Versace or something.
And we looked it up, and so most of they're a bunch of Greeks, they're a bunch of Jews. Like, I'm sure that I would just be around a bunch of olive skinned motherfuckers, and you know,
Serbs, I think, or I guess Persians are probably one of your better analyses, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just gonna like my American Southerner bias is like, well, I'll go there and they'll like me because well, I'm just a good old boy, and then I don't do wrong, and what reason they have not to like me? We break bread together. It's just that's what I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's fair.
Yeah.
I think that American is pretty good in many places because like we haven't like bombed Bulgaria in any major way. Like it's not like they would hate you necessarily like the Laotians do.
Exactly.
And I think the Theo Von bit about eating the Vietnamese was not just that he would eat the Viet, but that they would probably forgive him for eating Viets because we bombed the shit out of them, and they're like, I guess we just sell suits to these people now.
Yeah, that bit is really fucking funny. We probably Oh my gosh, because I thought about it and I was like, because he was like, if you eat a black woman, bruh, there's no way their family's gonna forgive you, and I was like, yeah, you're right about that, dog. You probably would have better luck with the Vietnamese people. Like not much better luck, but better luck. The thing I was going to say about about Bulgaria is I feel like worst case scenario, right? Like, because I guess I can just pay the people. If I pay the people with whom I train, then I only have to see them really, and then I figured that they're like
that might also cover like housing and tour guide expenses.
No, this is true. I know at least housing and food, and they'll probably know. Like I'll be able to say, yeah, places where they're down with the swirl. You know what I'm saying? And then also I figured like bigger museums, whether like art or historical museums, I figure they take green money or not green, like well, not necessarily green money, but whatever the
red,
the
white, and blue dollar bills.
Yes. What I'm gonna look up what the Well, probably the euro because the EU.
Bulgaria? I don't know. Is Bulgaria in the EU?
I know they're in NATO. I don't know if they're in.
Oh, if they're in NATO, they might be in the EU.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I think it is weird with like certain stuff because like Turkey is not in the EU. Lev is their currency.
It is worth.
Lev is like in the Levant, like Iraq.
Lev, as in I think word for lion. That's what at least that's what Google told me. Oh, okay, so it's worth like 0.62 of a dollar. So like 62 cents.
Okay.
5/8 of so 5/8 of a buck. That's not terrible. 5/8 of a buck to get that. I feel like
that's like. Would you pay them like 100 lions a day, or would you pay them like $100 a day?
I would. So I believe I would pay them $100 per day. I believe I would.
Could you negotiate
but also,
on like the basis of I will be here for 31 days or something?
No, yeah, that's true. They said they for like longer periods of time they're willing to do discounts, and also because the play is so. I mean, at the end of this machinist training, which will be in like 2.5 months, I should have gainful employment, and I was told to, well, according to the program director, and I guess this is sort of advertisement for New Century Careers. If you're looking for a place on the south side of Pittsburgh to learn how to be a machinist, I suppose they place the vast majority of their students. I believe it's in the 90s, and their median salary is like $17 an hour, right? And so I figure that if I make $17 an hour, and like let's say that let's not even think about me being able to secure more than that median, let's say. But if I make $17 an hour, right, and I live cheap, which is very doable, like I work a lot, I don't think it's entirely impossible for me to save like $2,000 over the course of like half a year, let's say. And if I can save $2,000 over the course of the half a year, that's if we say it will cost me around like $800 overall to get to and from Varna, Bulgaria.
That's like
then
12
I've got
days.
Exactly, which is like if I'm training every day, training hard, like just to like.
And I wonder if they would like recommend
as like a seminar
to like another gym somewhere else where they'd be like, oh, I got a boy in an EBI school somewhere in like I don't know somewhere in the South. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I looked for there is like the nearest one of the reasons that I'm like I just kind of want to do one. I have not been to continental Europe, and I definitely would like to. I always imagine this phase of my life, like as a young man, I would do a lot of training and globetrotting, and I think I would definitely get to satisfy my training globetrotting fix if I did so.
Episode
Also,
number 1 of Samurai Jack.
Yes, John, that's where we are. That's where we are in the timeline.
Number
and
1,
so,
Samurai Black. We're gonna do it.
Yes, that's oh my gosh, I can't wait.
Wait. Sambu Rai.
Sambo, Sambo guy Black. That's wait, yeah. It's like, hey, who was that? It's like Sambo guy Black. You know, it's
Yeah. Honestly, like it'd be so funny if you just were like, now I guess I'm a world champion in this. I don't know.
well, because I want to one of the main reasons I was excited to get my vaccine is so I could go back to jiu-jitsu. I believe I've said this before on the show, I think even. But I want to, for philosophical reasons, I think it's important to be able to I don't know, prevent your body from getting bent, let's say. And if you're interested in martial arts / watch UFC, you can see there are people who are really good at bending motherfuckers, right? And so when you watch like Khabib fight people, it's like, would you rather be the dude on top or on the bottom? And it's like, well, I definitely don't want to be the dude on the bottom. And so I figured the best way to secure that is to learn as much as I can. But also, and I do want to go back to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but the nearest Sambo place is in Ohio.
Oh,
it's like near Lake Erie, which already would be sort of a motherfucker for me to get to. I did. They actually called me today. I got to call them back, but just because I want to get like some introduction, like I want to know what like their gi is called and shit like that, because I don't know anything about Sambo really. But so yeah, if I'm trying to really like progress on my journey toward like I don't know what like worldly polymath status. It seems like an alright thing to do.
Polymath, I think is the term.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's an interesting idea. It doesn't seem entirely unfeasible, and also it would be really nice to have like a consistent long-term goal to work toward.
On the subject of long-term goals, I just had to give my porcelain throne a very short-term golden shower.
It's all good.
Yeah, very emergent, emergent property of emergency urination.
Oh no! It's super reasonable. There is nothing like. I'm so glad I haven't had to use my piss bottle in so long. Which I'm sorry to admit, listeners, I was a periodic user of a piss bottle, but only out of necessity. And
I think it's amusing that Jeff Bezos is a fan of the piss bottle. Like he's like, I've been seeing clips of him giving various like motivational speeches / like TED Talk style things. And it is weird because it's like, okay, shut the fuck up. You got lucky plus, like, lucky plus change. You know what I mean?
yes, lucky and change.
I don't think he's necessarily like a programmer of any kind. I think he was just.
Wait, Jeff Bezos?
Yeah.
Well, he might be like a motherfucker of an administrator. You know what I mean? I don't know what he does.
That was something I was thinking about. I don't think I've ever had a black teacher.
Elaborate.
No, there's nothing to elaborate. Like I've never had a teacher who was not a various shade of white.
What do you think about all the teachers?
I've had one substitute, Andrew. I think his name was. What was the sub at State High? I think his name was like Andrew Jackson or something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember Andrew Jackson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I've had.
Wow, there aren't any black teachers in
I've
State
had
College.
2 black principals, but no black teachers.
Yeah.
Like the
Now that I think about it, the last time I remember having a black teacher, I was in South Carolina.
Mm-hmm. That was something that I remember hearing about that as like an impact of desegregation, is that like black teachers were almost essentially eliminated because, I don't know.
Well, I guess
because like when they desegregated it, they're like, I guess we'll just liquidate the black schools. And
no, that's because it's the lower funded school and therefore the worst school. And so that's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
that is an interesting problem. I would like to. I guess we could. I could show you. If you were to participate in one of these workshops, I could teach you, and I'm black. That would be terrible. Or at least like one class that we can easily do that we just sort of need to like order some stuff for is like a soldering class, just because there are so many people who know how to solder. Like I wouldn't want to teach a soldering class, but I could teach someone how to solder like electronics, like at least through-hole electronics if they wanted to. But that's something, I guess. Let me ask you a question now. We've probably been going for like 45 minutes on this app.
Yeah,
or like
51.
Oh, heard. Okay. I was going to say, how would you feel
about my piss break?
Oh, no, this is true. I was going to say, I just have to, I have to shit so bad, and then I'm also kind of sleepy.
That's fair.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot that we were still recording. I should have said defecate listeners, but we're amongst friends here.
We're past the bad boy clock on YouTube, which I think is like the first 10 minutes of a podcast.
Oh, certainly. Yeah. But do you, I don't know, do you have anything you want to plug then, I guess? Or if the event that you're cool with, or that we should touch on continually?
Everybody go check out Bulgarian Sambo class.
Oh, it's a Russian Sambo, or specifically combat Sambo. Really, just watch Khabib fuck up everyone he's ever fucked up. It's so funny. He really fucks them up.
Do you think that you could, because I think Khabib works on a farm now. Like I think he bought his own farm and works on the farm now. Do you think that you could convince him to teach you a little bit of Sambo if you, like, I don't know, helped him castrate goats or something?
I mean, he's from a place called I don't know where his farm is, but he's from a place called Dagestan. Oh, yeah, he's from Dagestan, and apparently Dagestan is a not safe place. It's not. It's. I'm not really afraid of people generally, but I do. It's a frightening concept to think that just even if I weren't carrying any money, that there are places that don't have enough. Well, I don't know if this is one of those places, but I've heard in like South America, like John, someone might slit your throat for your glasses, John. Just like, I got these glasses, I get a couple somethings for them. You know what I'm saying? And I don't like that idea. But I guess I am going to a place to engage in violence. But he's also
very well loved in his country.
Yes.
So I think that if you were under his purview, like he's there, like, I don't even know if there's an American equivalent because America's so big. No. But like Dagestan is so small as a country, like internationally and like in terms of recognition, that like if somebody were to kill, like if somebody were to just go pop pop, they would be dead.
Oh, certainly.
As well.
Certainly. Yeah,
and certainly. Probably their whole family. Like,
no, this is true. And so if I could be like Khabib's boy, you know what I'm saying? And then they were like, it's Khabib's boy. Yeah, I feel like that would be cool. Yeah. Oh man. But check out like In the Pocket MMA. They make really good MMA compilations. There's a good one. There's a good one of Khabib smashing all of his opponents. That's what it's called. Smashing.
Yeah, just don't say anything like Conor McGregor about how his wife wears a towel or something.
Fuck. Imagine being Conor McGregor and just getting the shit kicked out of you.
Yeah.
Just because in this Khabib compilation, you can see he gets everybody the same way. Like he takes you down, gets the superior ground position, and then punches you in the head until you give up. Right? And if I were Conor McGregor, just it was very satisfying to see him experiencing that eventuality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't. For him, it's like, okay, I get like what, $25 million fight no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, because like at the end, like I like you can hear Khabib saying like, "Oh, let's talk now, right? And Connor's like, "Oh, I think I said this on the last episode."
I don't remember which fight it was, but like, no, go ahead.
Oh no, but he's like, Connor's like, it's just a job. Like it's just a job, babe. Like all bloody and shit. Because he like, and then I forget who it was before I think it was the fight before Connor. He's talking to the dude and he's like he's got him on the ground, like, give up. I gotta compete for the title. I deserve it. You know this. Just fucking him up. I think that he got that dude a really nasty Kimura too, and then like they stopped it because he was going to tear his arm off of his body. You know, because the way tough guys are, where they were like, "I'll lose my limb."
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But that's pretty much everything I have to say. Remember to hit the fucking John. John's reminded me that I am not on the bottom. You're going to want to hit the notification bell, hit the subscribe button. Mm-hmm. You're going to hit the like button. If you enjoyed this episode of the podcast, in the comments, let us know how many times you would have to get punched in the head laying on your back for you to give up if someone asked you nicely to. Yeah.
Remember to, I guess one more thing I have to plug is your arm back into your socket after it gets dislocated.
Yeah. Also, you get bent if you don't subscribe to the fucking Hop Off Pop Instagram.
Follow our Hop Off Pop IG for instant gratification.
Instant gratification. Thank you for saying that.
Instant gratification.
Yeah.
Peace, y'all.